Welcome to the Canadian Blind Hockey Podcast. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of season 2 of the Canadian Blind Hockey Podcast. I'm your host, Nico Cardarelli. We hope you enjoyed episode 4 as it was so much fun catching up with Scott Roberts from the Canadian National Blind Hockey Team and hearing about everything that's been going on in his life. I'm really excited for his children's book. Keep up the great work, Scott. On today's episode, we're going to stay on the west coast of Canada as we chat with Canadian National Blind Hockey goalie coach Joey Ali. And hey, don't forget to check us out across our social media platforms. And now you can download the Canadian Blind Hockey Podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, and Google Play. All right, we're now excited to be joined by Joey Ali, the goalie coach for the Canadian National Blind Hockey Team. Joey, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Nico. Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here and to have some fun with you, answering some cool questions and having a nice chat with you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been. And obviously we'd rather be catching up in person on the ice, but hey, with COVID going on, we'll just have to make do with this format for now. But Joey, I want to kind of get into the start of your hockey career as a youngster. How old were you when you first approached your parents and told them that you wanted to play hockey?
Wow. I think I was about 8 or 9 years old. It started when my brothers were taking me out skating, public skating. We're a big soccer family, so it was fun to get out on the ice with my brothers, who kind of pretty much taught me how to get the first parts about skating. And when I used to go out to the rink, there used to be a portion of the ice every Monday that kids could come out and play hockey on one part of the rink. And that was the first time I got to see it live and got to see it in person, see how much fun it was. And I was stopped there and I just was watching, and then I got in trouble for my brother. He's like, you got to keep skating. But the event, yeah, it was about, that's when I first got really exposed to it. And it's interesting because I didn't really have to ask my parents as much as my brothers kind of got me involved. Like, you know, one of my brothers just got me involved in it and enrolled me, and it was cool. And my parents were just on board. So it was about 8 or 9 when it started happening. And it was fortunate where I had brothers who kind of got me into it, even though they had never done it either. So that was cool.
You know, you're obviously the goaltending coach for the Canadian Blind National Team, but at 8 or 9, when you first got involved, kind of exposed to the sport, did you always want to play goalie, or were you just happy to be out there in any capacity?
Yeah, it was goalie, Nico. Honestly, it was. It started with the hockey cards. You know, when you're young, you watch it, and you get the hockey cards, and I really fell in love with the gear, the masks, the whole goalie thing, like the way they looked in net, the saves, the roar of a big save. It was just so cool. So when I was in soccer, I played in net and played out. So I liked it both. I got best of both worlds where, and in street hockey, being the younger brother, I was always in net. So, so maybe that had something to do with it. But for the ice part, yeah, the gear and so it was really like, yeah, I want to do this. Like, I want to be in net. It wasn't much of a hesitation. I got in trouble for it right off the bat for even asking. They're like, you're always wanting to be in net, and my parents, my brothers, but yeah, it was pretty instantaneous. Probably my second or third ice time.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So tell us a little bit more about your playing career, because you played junior and you also ended up playing in college. So kind of walk us through the path of your playing career.
Yeah. So it started when I was like 9, like minor hockey in East Vancouver, which was an association called Killarney. It's now part of Vancouver Minor Hockey, a bigger association where they have all amalgamated together. And so I started there, and through minor hockey, we had BC high performance programs at the time where they kind of come around. They have zone teams, which is now common, but in the time it wasn't. And the purpose of the zone teams were to play in the BC winter games. So, was an opportunity to go try out for that, made the team, and kind of started from there. And after that camp after that tournament at 15, was our WHL year, which I didn't get drafted in, but went to a WHL camp, which was the Prince George Cougars, which is a really amazing experience. That was my first ever camp. So needless to say, I was like, wow, at that level. And so it was awesome because it really set the bar where it should be set and allowed me to kind of try to pursue it. And so after about my first year of eligibility at 16, I played locally for a junior B team called the Grandview Steelers. Really fun time, played with some guys that was in minor hockey as well. So we moved up together along with a bunch of new guys and guys I knew from the high performance program, which was really cool. A couple years there. The second year, we went to the finals as a Cinderella team, lost in game 7. You'll notice that's a trend in my life, getting there, but never winning it. Exactly. So that happened. And then that year I went to try for junior A teams. And, just to be real clear, to go after all this stuff, it's cool talking about it, but the grind that it takes, and by that I mean the amount of teams I tried out for before I actually made a junior A team was, I probably like 12 or 15. There was a lot of tryouts going on where you're there and then you're cut as the last guy. And we all know that feeling. And ultimately it was just, I guess just wanting it at that time that bad. So I went out to Fernie, which is part of what time was American Western Hockey League, a part of an American league at the time. And I was there for a couple of years. My second year, I got a real awesome coach named Barry Wolf. He was a guy who, knew hockey. He's from the BCHL out here. And so when he was there, we kind of knew of me and each other due to his Lakeland camp that it's like a showcase camp that he holds. And that was why I had been there. So he knew of me. And that year, he gave me an awesome shot. And we ended up going to the finals, losing in our finals, but going to the nationals, losing in the semifinals, but winning at the bronze medal. And then which allowed me to get a scholarship into a Division III NCAA school, which was really cool. It was an awesome, it was just at that time, it was phenomenal, right? You got a scholarship, you just had won a national title, even though it's a bronze. You're the only Canadian team in the American nationals, and you end up coming away with something, which was cool. We were disappointed we didn't get to go to the finals, but it was a fun time, a great group of people. The Fernie Ghost Riders was an amazing community as well. Great, to this day, I just enjoy that spot. I haven't been there nearly enough, but I still keep in contact with a lot of those guys. And coincidentally enough, we end up playing against my buddies that were on that team in NCAA. So that was a fun time. And after a couple of years there, I studied business and marketing, and got some student awards and academic awards and stuff, and some athletic stuff. My second year after my second semester, I transferred to another school called Marion College, which was at the time rated a top 10 team in the nation for D3, which was really awesome because I wanted to continue to play at the highest level I could. So I took that and was there and for a year. And at the end of that year, there's other forces at play, but at the end of it, I ended up, dropping out and going to make some money playing hockey. So I did that for a little bit up until I was about 25, and then coming back. And that kind of was mostly like the end of the playing part. As far as, that's right after I did that, a couple years of getting paid, it was just kind of, it's kind of done. I just wanted to, at the time I did have someone, my now wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, with me. And so there was a lot of, and aside from that, own decisions and start wanting to kind of get on with it in a sense, which was easy to do at the time. But as any guy like yourself or anyone who's played sports or has been connected to it, it's tough to step away from it because you almost feel like you're losing a sense of yourself, if that makes sense.
Yep, totally. Well, that's quite the journey. But I mean, as you kind of alluded to, even though you stepped away from the ice in terms of your playing career, eventually you were able to parlay your love for hockey and goaltending into your own business, and we see that beautiful logo behind you. So tell us a little bit about the Pro Alley Goalie training school that you have, and kind of how it helped spark that passion for you in the game again.
Yeah, I guess it started with not that bug coming back. You know, I was about 26. I was doing a sales job, 26, 27, doing a sales job and doing it for a little while. And just wasn't getting the same, you know, just wasn't getting what I thought, you know, I could put out. The passion for the game was still there. So I went after it. I had done coaching throughout my playing career for the school you see behind me, which is Performance Goalie Schools, as growing up. So I'm a product of that school since I was about 13 or 14. And so, you know, I had the training was there. So as a result of it, I was familiar with how the process went. That's what led me to, okay, I'm going to start my own, which was the Pro League Goalie training, which was the original business I started. And that's the one I still have. And that one was where it all kind of started, where I got a loan from my mom for $1,000 to get a corporation started. I obviously paid her back since. So she, you know, and I was in my parents' basement suite at that time with my, at the time, girlfriend, fiance, I think she may have been a fiance at the time. And, you know, we're just starting, you know, I was like 27, trying to get it all started. So it started there, which was cool. And that's when it kind of got to grow, where I had to learn about the game, not only just from the player's perspective, but a coach's perspective. And, you know, as you can guess, with any journey, there's a lot of mistakes. Like there's a lot of things you learn, and you learn from, whether you're watching someone else do it and you're learning from them, or watching someone else make mistakes, or it's myself making mistakes and looking back at it and saying, you know, how could I have been better? You know, since starting the companies, you know, I've had some phenomenal opportunities, just like, you know, being part of now the goalie school that we own now, Performance Goalie Schools, with my business partners. That's a phenomenal opportunity to be part of that. And, you know, that as a result of, you know, having our own goalie schools, give me an opportunity to meet and be part of Canadian Blind Hockey, just one of the few, you know, awesome organizations I get the opportunity to be part of. Makes me super happy. And, you know, and the challenges all myself, and I love being around the people around the game. You know, there's a lot of good people around the game, so it makes it easy at times. But of course, we all know, along with, you know, what seems easy, there's always a lot of hard work behind the scenes.
You talked about your role coaching and training our national team goaltenders, but I bet you viewers and listeners at home would be interested to know what maybe is different and what you have to do when you're working with a visually impaired goaltender compared to a sighted goaltender.
Speaking about the athletes, they're phenomenal. There's nothing I can say about how they stop pucks, glove saves. I don't know, Nico. Like, you put a blindfold on me, I might fall over on these. I don't know, you know. So watching these guys perform and seeing them make some of the saves they make, which is strictly on sound. For everyone who doesn't know, these goaltenders are blindfolded just to ensure that there is no sight at all, no light coming in. So everyone's on an equal playing field. So it ultimately comes down to what I always said is a sixth sense. I don't know what it is. They just have it. They hear, know, feel, predict, however you want to say. They know where something's going. They make some of these phenomenal saves. So about the athletes are fantastic. They know they have to be in good shape. They know what they have to do. So they bring a lot to the game. So we're now working with them. It's working with our athletes. We want to help them understand positions, have a commonality about when we talk about where we are on the post and where the face-off dot is, where the middle of the ice is. We want to create a commonality. So a lot of what was the same was applying some of those theories and methods from the visual side to the impaired side, which worked fantastic. It was just about breaking it down a little less. So that part was relatively okay. Some of the fierce stuff we could bring over and save techniques, like on the post, we have what's called a reverse VH. We use that in the sighted game. We use that in the impaired hockey and blind hockey now. It's worked. It's been very, very, very successful. Those are some commonalities about that. And the other commonalities are muscle memory and actually asking for the ability to, if I can allow for me to touch them and actually mold them into the end result. So let's say working a butterfly, like teaching them what a butterfly is, because keep in mind, for a lot of them at home, so a lot of these athletes don't know what a butterfly is because they've never seen an ice hockey goaltender.
We're chatting with Goalie, who is the goaltending coach for the Canadian National Blind Hockey Team. Joey, you've been around the sport of blind hockey, like you said, since 2014, so going on 7 years now. I'm curious, what is your thoughts on the growth of the sport since you first got involved?
I think I got involved just before the rocket ship was about going, because it seemed like they had a lot of stuff put together, a lot of plans. You call it dreams, and that time things just started going off. I think it was a couple years after the national program was started, where they were doing a selection program, maybe 3 years later. But then we went to we were doing more national programs, and then we had Westerns, better turnout. So it just seemed like it started to grow, and there was great sponsorship that came on board, media groups, and I know they were just fantastic with helping the growth of the sport. You have some great people that's also involved that drive it, right? You have Luca DeMontis, you have Matt Morrow, you have a bunch of people behind the scenes that are making this happen. So the sport has grown. I'm excited to see Team USA. I'm excited to hear about the European teams, the work that's being done, and the athletes and the communities that are coming together are pretty awesome. Like, blind hockey's, it's growing a lot, and it's unbelievable to see it. And I'm excited to be a part of it.
One of the cool things that you mentioned is that you don't just work with our national team goalies. You help coach at the Canadian National Blind Hockey Tournament, which is open to all ages and all skill levels as well. And I think one of the things that you do really great at nationals, and again, whether it's regionals or development camps, when you're there in person and involved, you're fantastic at communicating with all of our goaltenders, regardless of what level they're playing at. So why is it so important for you to have that open line of communication with all of the goalies across Canada?
Well, one, it's about being, friends, right? Like at the end of it, we want to create relationships, right? We want to have people part of the sport. So it's important for them to know that if I'm around or they need something or they want to be doing something in the sport as far as goaltending, that I'm here, and that I'm approachable. I want to help them. So number one, building that relationship, right? That's important. The other part, we know who's to say who is going to be our next national goalie. It might be 10-year-old Timmy right there. That's just just going to come up the ranks. And we definitely have stories like that on our own national team. And so it's important, for those reasons and to build relationships so that we can grow the sport. We need, if we can facilitate goaltending in different parts of our country and provinces, then teams can play because they have a goaltender. They have, they're able to do it. They're not just shooting on maybe whatever they put up, a shooter, tutor, or whatever it is. There's someone who's interested in it. And that person going home may encourage another blind athlete to give it a go. Now, once we had 0, we have 2, and somewhere. So it's we're growing the sport. We also have to grow the position so that we can have enough to facilitate the teams as the sport grows around our country. That's a big thing. So going back to those camps, I have fun. it's a fun time. I get to, you get to hear how, some of the awesome comments of how fun it is or how exhausting it is or how they didn't realize how hard it is, and we just make light of it, but ultimately give them the experience and allow them to hopefully be successful in their games at that tournament, to be able to apply it and give it a go and continue to encourage that position in blind hockey. That's what we're all here for, right? To push this sport forward.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the comments that you get from your goaltenders, because we were actually talking away from the podcast to one of the national team goaltenders, and he mentioned that he loves your energy as a coach. And he even made the comment that when I'm working with Joey, it makes me want to try harder. So as a coach, how does that make you feel hearing one of your players describe your style like that?
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad that they don't mind getting beat down. Just kidding. No, that's fantastic. I'm really happy to hear that, because there's a lot, like at this national level, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and you need to be prepared. And some of the stuff's uncomfortable. You have to build muscles, and I love all the guys on the team, so I'm never coming from a place of trying to be mean. It's a place of constructive criticism and helping them be better. And even when you get off the ice, it's done. We're over it. It's, we got to do it on the ice. We don't need to drag it out off the ice or anything like that. And I'm really happy to hear that that's the case. And everyone understands my approach.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Everyone has fun working with you, but you also motivate them to be their best. And that's certainly something special in a coach who can kind of have that balance of, we're going to work hard, but we're going to have fun, but we're still going to work really hard.
Yeah.
So you did something amazing recently for the national team, and I want to shed some spotlight on that, because you arranged for Alton White to speak with the Canadian national blind hockey team at their team building event in honor of Black History Month. Now, for those who may not be aware, Alton White, who is best known for being the second player of African descent after Willie O'Ree to have played professional Major League Hockey. With everything going on to promote inclusion and racial diversity at all levels of hockey, what are your thoughts on the next steps that need to be taken that we can show hockey really is for everyone?
Well, the big talk right now is having, more minorities in management positions as far as the game goes, so that young individuals of color or any ethnicity can see themselves in the position, which is, as we've learned, it's really important for our youth to be able to see themselves doing something, being able to do, being in that position, whether it's female, male. If we can see someone like us there, it gives us like, yeah, we can do it. So, with that psychology behind that, obviously that's something where, seems to be the right move to allow that to happen, to allow that diversity. I mean, with the game, we're seeing a lot more diversity. We have full lines of our minority groups and whatnot, and it's awesome to see, because the sport's only going to get better with having allowing everybody in. You're going to get all types of athletes. With backgrounds that came from different sports, and now applying their family traits to ice hockey and watching the game further grow and take it in directions, that we've yet to see. So I think, that's for me is it seems to be what needs to happen, is to be able to have some of that, so that, it just allows the sport to continue to grow, because it shows that the sport itself is moving in the direction that they're saying.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think you're right. We're starting to see it more. There were obviously the trailblazers like Willie O'Ree and Alton White, and of course, Herb Carnegie. And then there were, guys from generations past like Grant Fuhr, And now we're seeing it more commonly
Absolutely.
with like the Subban family and
Right.
Kevin Weeks, who, played in the NHL and is now a broadcaster. And even with the Seattle Kraken, they already announced that their play-by-play man is going to be a person of color. And that's absolutely huge. So I think you're right. Having that representation can go a long way. All right, Joey, before I ask you our final question, I want to have some fun with you because we do it with all our guests on the podcast. You folks at home know that sound. It's time for our rapid fire segment. And here today, we're chatting with Joey Ellie, the Canadian Blind National Team goalie coach. So, Joey, first and foremost, when you were playing hockey, what jersey number did you wear?
1.
Any particular reason why?
I thought being number 1 was good.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. I like that. What was your favorite pregame meal?
Oh man, I think it was pasta only because that's what we were told. I liked it too. Don't get me wrong. Like I like pizza. I like carb food. So, yeah, pasta was like a good pasta was good with salad.
Awesome. Traditional hockey player meal. I like that. Okay, kind of a two-parter here. Who was your favorite goalie growing up, and who is your favorite goalie currently playing in the NHL?
Nice. Kirk McLean growing up. Like, actually Grant Fuhrer for sure was there, but he was before, like he was there in Kirk McLean, but Kirk McLean was from Vancouver, Vancouver right. Canuck. And so Kirk McLean, and, as they see it now, man, it's awesome. Like you see Marc-Andre Fleury, guys that, you think are getting old, but they're changing their game. They're doing some amazing things based on their age and stuff. So some of my old school guys are coming back. I like Demko for sure. Markstrom with Calgary. Wow. Like we knew he was a stud. But now to go and it's a typical Vancouver fashion. I love Vancouver. Don't get me wrong. Right. But we create these phenomenal goalies and then we just, let's not go down that road. But, but yeah, those are some of the guys right now.
Very cool. So I think you kind of alluded to it there, but who's your favorite hockey team?
Oh, the Vancouver Canucks. Just the way it is.
Of course.
Who's your favorite hockey team?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. So growing up.
Exactly.
Okay, but you got to let me answer. Leaf and the Blackhawks, which as a Canucks fan, you're going to hate that. But yeah.
Wow, I do. The Blackhawks always screw up. Like, come on, man. All right. Hey, man, that's a double whammy.
They had an Italian goalie, and maybe it's a little more common now, but when Esposito was in that, he was, I think, the only, there was a guy who played in Vancouver, Caesar. I don't remember his last name right now, but there were very few Italian goalies back in the day. And
I got you. That's awesome.
So yeah, the Blackhawks always have a special place in my heart.
I got
you. All right. We know all hockey players, or basically all players, have crazy superstitions. Did you have any crazy superstitions in your pregame routine?
Pregame, I'd come in, get half my gear on, always right side first. So, if I had to skates, I'd go right skate, then left skate, right pad, then left pad. And then I'd go through I'd have to get a visualization, be able to visualize for 25 minutes or 20 minutes, just to be able to visualize plays and stuff. And then I was good to go. If just be on ice was a whole new ball game, but, that's the pregame. That's the pregame.
Oh, that's awesome. We recently had Natalie Spooner chat with us for the Canadian Blind Hockey Town Hall. And like you, she had a very specific routine when getting dressed. But for Natalie, it was left side first and then right. So I guess you're the flip. But that seems to be a common one for sure. Okay, a goalie-specific question here. What is more satisfying for you to make? A sweet glove save or a 2-pad stack?
Oh, man. They're both so good if you do it right. Like a glove save, you never go wrong. Like, if it's you're picking cherries and it's like the simple saves are good saves for sure. We know this. Yeah. You put a bit of jazz on it, like throw on a windmill. Well, obviously you're going to get the crowd going. That's definitely one. A 2-pad jammer like Kirk McLean versus the Calgary Flames in Game 7. Wow. Like in those circumstances, I would take the 2-pad jammer.
Yeah.
But man, I'm under the circumstances, if we're talking about that game 7 coming across 2-pad jammer, and yeah, it would be the 2-pad jammer. But outside of that, it would be the glove save.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one because you're right. There's something super satisfying about a great glove save. But I think the 2-pad stack is at times so unexpected.
Oh.
And when you can execute it, like everyone notices it and it really stands out. So I'm with you. 2-pad stack whenever you can.
Not whenever you can. I just liked it.
Who was your role model growing up?
Role models, I would say, were my brothers. I have 3 older brothers, so for them life was different because they're way older. Like I would say about 18, there's probably like 18 to 23 years difference, so almost like a generation gap right there. So when they came, they had a bit of a different lifestyle. So for me, I was able to look up to see how well they did in sports because they were very talented in sports, specifically soccer. So I got to be around a lot of them doing well and winning and getting used to seeing what that looked like. So early on, it was that. It was them. It was 3 of them. And then, as you get older, you go into college, you see other things and latch on. But early on, it was them.
Very cool. All right, Joe, you've been an amazing guest. I have one final question for you before we wrap up today's interview. And I want to know...
Why have we got to wrap up? Why have we got to stop?
Because we only have so much time. I would love to keep going, but part of season 2 is we're going for a shorter, more impactful format. So we do have to be mindful of our time here. To you personally, why is it so important to make the sport of blind hockey accessible to children and youth across not only Canada, but across the world who are blind or partially sighted?
All right. That's a good question. It's a thick one, has layers there. So the first part is the humanitarian aspect. For me, it's about how the community comes out. Before I was part of the sport, I didn't realize how hard it is to have a social network in the blind community. So knowing that blind hockey brings out people, brings people together and allows them to grow their social abilities, feel social, know they have a network of friends. That's huge. That I've seen so many athletes since I've been involved with blind hockey change in the positive, go from introverted to being social, to not feeling shy about things, to not hesitating to call out and introduce themselves, whereas before they would never. So that part is very important, I think. And, that's important to everyone. The other part about it is growing the sport, because it starts with youth, right? We need to create that early on and let them know there's an option, there's an opportunity there for them to play the sport if they so want to. There's ways to go ahead and do it. So by letting them know there is a program to support them will allow us to grow the sport because we'll have more participants. And as a result, we can continue to grow the program, improve on the sport, and continue to be ambassadors for the rest of the world, and help them do the same, for those 2 reasons. One, for the humanitarian part, for the social part, and of course, the sport.
Well, Joey, you're an amazing guy to have involved with the program, and we can't thank you enough for your time here today and for all the hard work you do in terms of training our goalies across all levels, but especially the work you've done with the Canadian National Blind Hockey Team. Our guest today has been Joey Ellie, goaltending coach from the Canadian National Blind Hockey Team. Joey, thank you so much for joining us. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's show, and we want to thank everyone for tuning in. Remember, you can follow Canadian Blind Hockey across our social media channels and send us your emails to info@blindicehockey.com with your suggestions, as we love to hear from our community. Our next episode drops on April 22nd, so stay tuned and stay safe. Canadian Blind Hockey programs are brought to you by our presenting partner, AMI, our national program partner, CNIB Foundation, And national partners, Daniel Family Foundation, Electra Health, and Mannion. The Canadian Blind Hockey Podcast is produced by Parasport TV.